Welcome to Nutty Buddy Entertainment.
Welcome back, everybody, to Nutty Buddy Entertainment. I am your host, Ryan, and what we're going to do today is our instant reaction to the Batman movie. Now, this is kind of an instant reaction because, full disclosure, this is about 12 hours after the movie. We went and saw it last night, got home at 12:30, and we just had a long day, so we're like, let's just do it in the afternoon tomorrow. So to do the instant reaction to the Batman movie with me is Luke. Luke, how's it going, man?
It's going quite well, Ryan, except Paul George needs to come back from his elbow injury. So I'm still doing pretty terrible as far as that goes.
You know what I appreciate about you, Luke, is no matter what the topic is, no matter what podcast you're on, you always start out with updating us on how Paul George is doing. So
it's who I am, Ryan.
It's who you are, and don't ever change. So let's just talk about the Batman movie. This is going to be kind of instant, like I said, our instant thoughts, what we felt about the movie. I think Luke and I are both in agreement. We are going to go again and see it. But I will also be doing the Great, Good, Bad, and Ugly movie review for the Batman as well, with a couple other guys other than Luke, because Luke is kind enough to do my instant reactions with me. So Luke, let's just get into it. How did you feel about the movie?
I liked it a lot, like a lot. It's not like any other, to say it's not like any other Batman movie is not really doing it justice, because it's not really like other superhero movies. It's not really a superhero movie. It's a crime detective movie situation it's much more suspense than it is any sort of a superhero. You think of a superhero movie, you think of like a Marvel formula or even the more recent DC movies. It's just nothing like that. I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I agree. I really liked it as well, but I wouldn't like, if you're going to want to watch like a fun movie, this is not like a fun movie in the sense of like Marvel, where you, like you mentioned, the formula of the quips and then the actions, sequences and all that stuff. It's more of, like you said, this sort of drawn out, suspenseful detective crime movie. And it is very intriguing that we've never seen this before, but this is like the Batman that I've always wanted to see. So it was kind of cool to see that on screen.
No, definitely. The thing that people would knock about all the more recent live action Batman stuff we've seen is he's supposed to be this greatest detective, and he doesn't really do detective work. Like, it's a very small amount of what he does in any of the live action versions we've seen. So that is not the case in this movie at all. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I really liked it. The tone of it, it's definitely not one where you're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna grab some popcorn and enjoy myself at the movies today. It's definitely more of a, you got to be in the mindset for it. But yeah, it's awesome. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I agree. So let's just break some of the things down that we liked about it, and some of the things maybe that we'd like to have seen maybe a little different, maybe improve on, if we want to use air quotes there. First, let's talk about some of the things we liked about it. Is there anything that, I know there was a point you brought out last night that I thought was a really great point of why it was such a good Batman film. But you can either bring that up or another point you like, because I don't want to, speak words into your mouth when you are fully capable of doing that.
Let's just go ahead and talk for me, Ryan. What did I say last night? No. I think I'll leave that because that's a little bit more story related, I feel like. So just what I liked that it went at its own pace. And it's the start of the movie made it very clear that it's going to be more of a, we're gonna build up to what happens. We're gonna piece things together. I really liked how the opening scene, like the bad guys that were just looking at the shadows and we're scared of them. Like, he's not there, but what if he is? Like, that's the kind of, like, that's just how it starts. Like, expect that to be like the suspense. That's going to be a theme of the whole movie. Like, what is going to happen next? I really like that. This was based off the Batman Year One comic series. Is that a series or just a
Yeah.
graphic novel, or what was that?
I think so.
I saw
that
the
it was
animated one,
Yeah,
so
me too.
that's how I know of Batman Year One. But I think he has been Batman for 2 years in this. So like, if you see his outfit, like it's not a full-on Batman outfit, 100% refined and all that. When he goes to jump off an edge of a cliff thing, he's a little bit scared of heights. He doesn't have the perfect. I thought all of that was really cool because that kept it grounded. So that's something I really, really liked, that they showed him make mistakes, and I thought that was neat, because that makes you understand more of where he's at, and you can look at it more of a. It made it like, again, it made it less of a superhero movie and more of just a grounded. I don't call it realistic, but I just thought it made it better. I liked it.
Well, no, I agree with you, because like, even we were talking about yesterday, like some things that I like when it comes to some of the Marvel movies, especially like in Phase 4, that has been really frustrating to me personally, is when you see like regular humans like somehow able to do what only superhumans can do, like fall from 10 stories and get up and walk away, or like get beat up by the Kingpin in one of the movies and somehow not have a scratch on you afterwards, and you're just a normal human. What I loved about this movie was Batman would take blows and he would feel them, and you kind of felt it with him. Like, you felt the blows with him, whether he got shot by a shotgun, that one scene, or like when he fell and he was in that glider and then he hit the overpass, and then you just felt it because of the sound in the theater too. Like, you just felt it with him, and he was really injured in those moments. And that's one thing that I really liked, is how grounded it was as well. And I agree with you. It's hard to describe it as a superhero movie when it's more of like a detective movie. It's definitely a comic book movie. Another thing I liked was the Batman. Like, I thought Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
Pattinson. I want to always call him Patterson. Pattinson. He was a great Batman. Like, this was probably the best version of a Batman I've seen. He's intimidating. He doesn't talk a whole lot. He's very short with people, and I just like that, because it just adds to the mystery of who Batman is, like in the comics and in the cartoon stuff. So it was kind of like a fitting Batman. I thought he did excellent.
For sure. He was great. I thought the acting across the board was excellent. I mean, that's, you kind of expect that at this point when it's such a big movie, and obviously they cast knowing these things, but it just, Jeffrey Wright was awesome as Commissioner Gordon. I really liked him. I thought that it was again, for, if you've seen the I'm sure I've just seen the Batman Year One animated deal, but if you've seen that or read that stuff, it felt exactly like I was seeing a live action version of that type of a comic. Is how it felt. It was just really cool. I keep saying how cool it was, because that's how I would describe the movie. Like, everything, but it wasn't fun.
No,
it wasn't super high action by any stretch, but everything about it was it's, if you're looking for a type of Batman story that hasn't been shown before in live action, this is going to be right up your alley, because we've seen how many Batman movies now. They could have very easily made it a little bit too similar, right? But that's not even close to what they did.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I like how you described it last night as sort of like a video game. That's like, you kind of like, we love playing Arkham, the Arkham series, and it sort of felt like that, like investigating stuff. It's not all about punching and kicking people. And here's the thing, another great point we talked about yesterday, but I believe that you brought up, which is, so I'm just going to speak words for you, Luke.
Go ahead, your podcast. You steal my thunder.
Steal all your thunder. Is like, the Riddler is not the villain that you're going to go up against and have a bunch of action sequence. Like, the Riddler has been challenging Bruce Wayne from the neck up. That's how he always has challenged Batman. So it wasn't like Deathstroke, but where you would probably have a ton of action and them two fighting one another. This is more of a mental game, and the movie showed that. Like, that's what I liked about it. And there were so many twists and turns and plot points that we didn't see coming. Yeah, it was exceptional to me. I thought it was a great movie. I'm with you.
Yeah, because they knew that the Riddler, it would not be interesting if it was just another guy he's gonna go beat up because he's a bad guy and he needs to get beat up. It would have been a much worse movie. But because of who he was, they never showed you what his plan was the entire movie. Because we got on that topic because we were comparing. It's so easy to try to compare movies. So this is a Batman movie. Well, which Batman movie do you like best? It's so easy to be like, oh well, I like this one better than Batman Begins, but I prefer the Dark Knight to this one. But it's so hard to like rank them, because you would say, well, I like the Dark Knight because of the Joker.
Yeah, that's me.
But you see the Joker scheming the entire movie.
Yes.
Because that's what you need to see. You don't see anything of the Riddler in this. You follow Batman like you're playing the role of Batman. You're playing Batman in the video game. Here we go. Let's go investigate this. Now what would I do in this scenario? Well, we should probably go find out what this guy knows. Okay, let's go see over there. In the meantime, the Riddler killed another guy. Well, let's go see what clue he left on that. It's so different to not know what the villain's situation is, and you're figuring it out as you're watching Batman. You're trying to solve it with them. It's such a different take on a movie structure format, whatever you want to call that. It's not going to be for everyone, I don't think, but because of that, it's slower paced. It's a long movie. It's 3 hours long. I'm sure there'll be times where if you're not into sitting there and waiting, there'll be people who are like, nothing's happening. Why is he walking so slow? Like, people will think that, but yeah. I thought that was awesome. They play the piano keys as he's walking. I'm like, oh man, what's gonna happen next?
It's all deliberate because you're thinking with him. I think you just brought up the point that I really like that you brought up last night, which is that basically in all the other Batman movies, or even like superhero movies or heroes movies in general, we kind of follow the villain, right? Like we see what the villain's doing, and although we follow the Riddler very little, we see like who he attacks. We don't know his plan until we see it through Batman's eyes. Like even when I think it was the DA, when he kidnapped the DA and then strapped the bomb to his neck. It's like we didn't know what he was doing necessarily in that moment until he runs through the building with the car, and then he comes out and we're like, oh, okay, now we tie this together. And so even though we see who the Riddler's going after, all of it's still kind of a mystery to us. And that's what I felt like made this movie so much fun is that you're trying to figure it out with Batman who the rat is, right? And it ends up at the end being Falcone, which was again pretty neat twist.
Yeah, it was. By the way, fun was in air quotes there for people who couldn't see.
That's right. That's fair.
It is fun from that standpoint. It's not. I mean, if
not
that's
a popcorn movie, flick, yeah.
Yes, it's that if you're looking for the fun of trying to think, then it is indeed fun. What was cool about the whole, also the aspect of him learning how to be Batman, mm-hmm. is even it wasn't just like the fight stuff where he had to was kind of learning, like him and Batman and Alfred, they did not figure out the couple of the clues perfectly. Like they were wrong. They thought it was Penguin. It was not Penguin because they didn't have the Spanish thing right. Like,
right.
They screwed that. He didn't know the carpet tool deal. He didn't know what that was. He's a rich kid who grew up. Why would he know what that is? Mm-hmm. Like that type of stuff. Like it was just a really. Not perfect. He's super smart, but like he's got to learn. Yeah. So that was really neat too. It was all aspects of it it was just really well thought out.
Yeah, and the very beginning of the Riddler's crime spree, right, was with that tool, and I love that they brought it all the way back around to solve the big picture puzzle. You needed the very tool that he used to kill the mayor, the person running for mayor. I think he was the acting mayor at the time too. So how they brought that all the way back around was fascinating to me. I really like that as well. Yeah. Penguin was excellent in this movie. I thought Colin Farrell did a real good job, and so was the Riddler. Who is your like favorite villain in this movie? Did you have one that stood out to you the most?
Well, boy, it's hard to list a favorite one. Because the Riddler is so prevalent in it, and so I think he did a good job. That was, as far as a character like that, which is an outrageous, ridiculous concept. A guy who gives clues of what he's done in riddles. It's just a ridiculous concept, right?
Right.
I thought that was pulled off about as well as it could have been in a realistic, gritty setting. A guy who wears a flashy green outfit in the comics with question marks all over him and riddle me this. What it's like it's a ridiculous. That I thought that was done really well. I don't know if you count Catwoman as a villain. I don't
She
think
can
I
be.
would, but
Anti-hero.
She was great.
Yeah.
She was really good. I loved the fact that they gave her a story as well, which in a movie about the Batman, where you're following Batman the entire time, pretty much, dressed up as Batman, it would have been easy to maybe not go as in depth with all the other characters, and I thought they really did a good job with just basically everyone. I don't know if I'd say there was a favorite villain, because I feel like I didn't spend a whole lot of time with the villains. So
that's fair. That's fair.
It is what it is, but I just thought it was well done. I liked it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would say it's hard to outdo the Riddler just because he was the more prominent villain. I thought they did a really good job of grounding him. His story was fascinating. Basically, he was the forgotten orphan of orphans, right? Like, and that's really what drove him to hate Bruce Wayne. And he blamed Thomas Wayne.
Which was a really good redirect from the trailer, which made it look like he obviously knew that Batman was Bruce Wayne. You saw that in the trailer for the movie. So you were just waiting for that to drop, where he was going to let everyone know, oh no, is he going to, and then it turns out, no, they did a really good job of hiding the fact that he hated that Bruce Wayne was an orphan who got to grow up in in his mind, a perfect little scenario with all the money he could ever want, which is of course not true. Money doesn't give you happiness, but that's not what he thinks, because he grew up with 30 other orphans in the same room in a terrible spot with no one to care for him at all. And so his hatred of Bruce Wayne was nothing to do with Batman whatsoever. It was simply that he saw Batman as a tool to get back at Bruce Wayne, like he was getting back at all these other people that he found responsible for his situation and the city situation. Really neat that they went that route with it. And that, I mean, would you have guessed that based off the trailer, that he wasn't even going to know that Batman was Bruce Wayne?
Yeah, I thought he definitely would know, because he said, "You're part of this." And when you heard that phrase, you just assume that it was, he knew that Bruce was part of the Wayne lineage, Wayne family, and that he has a hand in all the corruption that has been taking place. So I was with you. I'm with you there. I thought we would see a big reveal, but that where he found out, and they kind of teased it, right? In the cell, it's like Bruce Wayne, he said his name like 6 times, and then he's like, "Oh, we didn't get him." And that was the mental stability of the Riddler really showed in that scene, like how he in his own mind felt like him and Batman were working together on this. And when he realized how Batman felt about him, he like lost it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of crazy to me too, is like how it was kind of cool to experience how crazy the villain was, like how mentally distraught he was, probably because of the environment he grew up with. He got addicted to the eye drops, which I guess is a form of drugs, the droplets. I don't know if that's a real thing or not, but I've never heard of that kind of drug.
you haven't made any shady deals to get those drop things in your own personal life to that you can relate for us to understand what was going on there?
No, 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 I promise you I have not. But I was just like, well, is that a real thing, or is it seems like a Gotham thing which is thing. But yeah, so and then we got a little tease of the Joker at the end of the movie, which I'm really excited for because I'm a big Joker fan. You can't get enough of Joker. I'm sorry. Like anybody who's sick of Joker, it's like you can't tell the story without Batman, without Joker. We're not going to dwell on that, but so calm down. Just calm down if you're upset about that. We're going to get another Joker. Too bad.
And yes, correct. I mean, I don't really care if it's too much or whatever. I just want it to be good. So I don't care. You could tell me that there'd be a new Batman movie every year for the next forever. If they were all good, I'd be like, sweet. Awesome. If it's a good Batman story, I'll watch it. I don't care. I thought that I know we're kind of just going. You kind of want to talk about what we liked and didn't like, but I'm just gonna keep talking about the movie.
Yeah, go ahead. No. I just wanted to add real quick. I just wanted to throw this out there while I'm thinking of it. I thought another thing that was said in our conversation yesterday, but it came from your sister Kayla, and Kayla probably doesn't listen to the podcast, but if you do, shout out Kayla. And she mentioned that, and I like this point, like that it was sort of like reading a comic, that this movie was more comic book. Like if you're reading a comic, this is how it works. You don't get action every little box. You get like the whole story as you're going through it. And that sort of is what happened. And that's why the pacing, like some people didn't like the pacing, but if you just, and I'll admit, like it was slow in some areas. Me and you talked about it. And I'm like, they could have sped up some areas, but overall, it did remind you of like a comic books, how you'd go over each page. And sometimes there wouldn't be a single action sequence within a comic book you read. Sometimes there is a lot, sometimes there's none, because you're building the story to the next comic book. So that's the way it felt to me. And it was great pacing in that way.
Yeah, it felt like you get the panels where, you got the big, huge panel with the real detailed everything. You got the little panels, that are going from, oh, he is here. Now here's a word bubble because he says this. And then here he's going over here. It's what it felt like, phrase here to so-and-so. Let's go talk to this guy. Oh, now this guy's we got to deliver a message to this dude. Okay. That's a big one. It just felt like you were seeing that come to life, it was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool. I'm going to keep saying it was cool. I really liked how they made it apparent that Batman, Bruce Wayne, was struggling with the concept of all the stuff he's doing is not, it's not mattering, and it's creating more crime. He can try to stop it and do this, but at the start of the movie, he gets the bad guys to run away from him. He beats up a couple of them or whatever, and they're trying to, I don't know if they're gonna mug that I don't know, it was like an Asian guy, or they're gonna mug him while he got off the subway or the train or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what the plan was with him, but that guy that he saved was scared of him.
Mm-hmm.
And was like, don't hurt me, or whatever. And that's not who Batman is. So that fear was still not really helping the people as much as what he wanted to have a good effect on them. And it was still causing all this crime stuff. He's wondering, like, why am I doing this throughout the movie? And then the Riddler at the end basically says, you created, like, you were my inspiration. And he's probably, the whole movie he's been thinking to himself, what am I doing this for? Is this going to matter? Does this actually solve anything? I've been doing this for 2 years. And so by the end of the movie, he kind of came around to, people need to know that I'm on their side and that I'm for the city, and I want to help rebuild this. I want things to go well for people. I'm not their enemy. Like he needed to be more than just, to quote him, I'm vengeance. I'm going to go beat up people that I need to get vengeance. Like he needed to be more than that. Mm-hmm. And he realized that throughout the movie. And that scene with the Riddler at the end, he's talking to him, I think was a stepping point in that, where he was like, wow, I helped create this guy.
Right. So I think there was like a twofold situation there that I was thinking about this, because that was something that I was listening to somebody talk this morning on YouTube, and they mentioned like, they say that he's instilled fear in people, but it's not really doing anything to stop crime. It's not necessarily like it could be stopping crime in the sense of like, you know, like some people are thinking more about doing stuff or not doing stuff, but it's creating more crime in the sense now these crazy people are coming out. And that's where like the Riddler would have never became what he was if Batman never showed up. So he creates more crime because people felt empowered by his fear. And he's like, well, what if I instilled fear and make changes in other people? So like, that's what the Riddler was doing. He's instilling fear in the elite of Gotham to make it, trying to make
it a costume,
right?
Dressing up in a costume, looking ridiculous. See, I can do that too,
right?
You know?
Yeah, no, yeah, and I like that point too. Is that was a great line in the movie where he's like, "You basically created me. You created me." You know, it kind of reminded me a little of the Joker interrogation scene in The Dark Knight where he's like, "You complete me." Like that sort of reminded me of that. You know, those two scenes together. Oh yeah, good movie, man. I'm trying to think of other things that we could talk about, but
well, I really liked how they built up the everything with Selena Kyle situation, where his, I guess call it a relationship, but his connection with her, he sees good, and he sees like a partner, but like he always does, like a little bit. But we had talked about this last night, how that kind of represents a human side of him that doesn't really exist in this movie. Like Bruce Wayne in this movie is not, he hasn't learned how to be both yet, and because of that, you can see how the Wayne legacy, I think that whole deal with the I'm not gonna remember the name of it, but it was on the folders, it was a part of the story. What was the word?
Hush.
No, sorry. Like his money that went in they were all using
the renewal.
The renewal, yes. So that money, that the Wayne legacy, that all came from him, that was being used by all these criminals.
Yeah.
Had he maybe cared more about that side of his life, maybe that wouldn't have been going on. And you got the new mayor lady was like, hey, you can be doing more in this and this, and he has no time for that. I'm Batman. That's what I do. I'm not Bruce. Bruce Wayne doesn't matter. He's a nobody. I don't go out in public. I don't. So I felt like Selena Kyle was bringing out a little bit of the human element that he did not have. Yeah. And that was cool to see him kind of wrestle with that. And it's very subtle and it's very slow. So you have to, I mean, the movie gives you time to think with him. Like, what's he thinking about? What's he, every time. So that was neat. I enjoyed that. If you find that slow and boring, I get it. But I thought that was a really cool way of doing that. That it's not that we've seen many versions of Catwoman on the screen. Yeah. I personally would say I like this version, felt like the video game, like the Arkham series video game is how she felt to me, which of course I like those video games, so I'm gonna think that's great. But I thought that was really cool, and they gave her a twist as well that was not accurate back to the comics. They kind of changed it for the movie, which was interesting, with her connection to Falcone.
Yeah, I like how she kind of like became a detective in herself a little bit, like figuring out that her mom was killed by her Falcone. Like she figured that out because of Falcone killing her friend. And so that was kind of neat. I agree with you about the Bruce. The only thing is, like, for me, I just wish he would have, because like it's all about like protecting his identity in a sense, and he just was the only problem when he was Bruce Wayne, he was too much like Batman. Like I just felt like, how if you're Commissioner Gordon and you ran into Bruce Wayne and you ran into Batman, you'd be like, man, those mannerisms are like exactly the same. Like the way he walks, the way he was like looking, his eyes are just all like, it's all so similar. I just wish he would have, like, he didn't have to be like Batman was in, or Bruce Wayne was in The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, where he's like jumping in the pool in the middle hotel or whatever, the water fountain thing. he didn't have to be like that, but just like he's trying to pretend to put on a front. And maybe he'll get there in this trilogy. I believe that he will. He'll understand. But that was one thing I was just like, I wish they would have probably tried to distinguish Bruce Wayne and Batman a little bit more. But I think you're right.
That didn't bother me at all. I can get, but yeah, if you were to say the things that you would like to see improved, I can get why someone would say that. I thought it was, he's just a loner that is off on his own that no one knows anything about. So to then say, well, he's Batman. You see Batman beating the tar out of bad guys. And by the way, the Batmobile that we didn't talk about, that scene was fantastic.
Yes, it was.
Oh man.
Was that your favorite scene? The car chase?
My favorite scene in these movies is always something that's more like a verbal communication connection type, like in Spider-Man. I liked when they were on the rooftop talking. So if I had to pick a favorite scene, I liked when he was talking to Alfred in the hospital bed. I thought that was good. It gave, again, that was that human element that was missing. I thought that was good. He was talking about fear, how he didn't have any fear anymore. He's kind of learning that he actually, there is always something to fear, really. And I liked that. I liked I liked when he was connecting the dots, and when he was talking to the Riddler at Arkham, and he pieced together, because he thought that his identity was going to be revealed. At least I think that's what he was thinking.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
So when he figured out that, no, this guy, I got this guy. I got this. I can go do this. So I like that. That felt like Batman. I don't know if I have a favorite scene off the top of my head, but I did really like the car chase. I wish I hadn't seen how the car chase was going to end in the trailer.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
When he's walking up to him, I wish I hadn't seen that. But when the music is playing and he's walking towards him and the car's upside down, and that loud dun, 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 dun. Oh man, that's good.
Yeah, the music or the score,
the score was great.
It was awesome. Yeah. One of my favorite scenes was the hallway scene. I told you on the car ride home, it's like now he's honorary member of the Star Wars universe because he got a hallway scene. But yeah, that hallway scene where like you didn't see anything going on until like gunshots were happening, that was super cool. I thought that was really well done. Really well done. Okay, why don't anything that you could have off the top of your head like wish they would have improved on? It's very
nitpicky, because I like the movie so much. I liked it a lot. I thought at the end, when he is in a spot where he needs to be saved, the cliche movie thing where here comes Catwoman to fly in and save him. I was like, okay, we know Batman's not going to die.
Right.
So don't put him in a spot where he's going to die. And I talked to you about maybe he was like okay with dying there. Maybe they were trying to say that. I gotta see it again. So that would make me like the scene more, but it's still I'm still not a fan of it just being like, oh, well, here's a movie trope where he's a split second away, and if the criminal was really evil, he would have just hurried up and shot him. But instead, he's going to wait until the last possible second so Catwoman has time to come and knock him out of the way. I wasn't a fan of that. I didn't really like that part of it, because that was so not like how the movie was. That's a superhero movie trope right there. And that was just it was the only spot in the movie where I thought, oh, why was that there?
No, you're right. It was, and again, it was just a little bit slow. Like just him, it's like Batman would have done something in that moment. Like he wouldn't have just, unless if you're right, like that's a good point. He did say he's not afraid of dying. So he could have like, hey, if I die here, who cares? Right.
That's right. But maybe that's what we were supposed to think, in which case I guess I don't dislike how slow he was being in that moment, but
we all knew it was we understood he was taking his time so Catwoman could get there, basically, like the villain was. The only thing that I guess that, other than the Bruce Wayne thing, so the whole story was based on this renewal thing, right? The project of Thomas Wayne giving $1 billion and how the money's being spread out. And I thought that it was going to lead up to like Bruce Wayne understanding like he needs to be involved in this stuff to protect his family legacy, right? Because real quick, the fact that his father had that picture of Hush in front of when the Riddler sent out that video to expose the Wayne family. That was what we call an Easter egg. That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. But I wish like at the end he took control of the situation, because that was sort of what led to the Riddler and everything that was being really what motivated the villain in this movie was the renewal fund. And because that's ultimately what the big lie was that led to him hating all these other lies that were going on. So it never really resolved what's going to happen with the Wayne funds up to that point. Like, we still don't know, like, is he going to take it over? Is he going to take control of the situation? Or is it still like being moved around by all these politicians and crime families? Like, we still don't know.
Yeah, it didn't answer that. I'm gonna guess intentionally. They know what they're doing. They're setting stuff up for future situations. Like by the end of the movie, and when I shouldn't say by the end of the movie, but at the start of the movie, I'd have to go and look back at the dates. I could look online really easily, but I'm pretty sure it started on Halloween.
Yep, you're right.
October 30th, and it ended on November 6th, a week later. So in that short period of time, there probably wasn't going to be a look at what I'm doing now. Now I need to come out. Like, I guess it could have been a scene where he said that, but I felt like but when he was talking to Alfred about, that he does have that fear of losing someone. And then as he saw what he was doing to everyone who he needed to be by the end of the movie, I think you could be justified in assuming or thinking that he's going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not what was in. It wasn't shown in this movie. Him needing to be Bruce Wayne was never a part, or to build up that aspect of, I can help save the city with my human side, money side of things. He just never got there.
Yeah. No, that's the only thing I think, like, and again, it's a nitpick, and they could come in, and this is why, if it's like a trilogy or like a, part of a bigger cinematic universe or whatever, has to be a semblance of patience. But the thing is the main point of that story, that what again created the villain, was that project, that renewal project. And it just doesn't get resolved at the end. And I'm just like, oh, okay, well, we'll see what happens. But I would have liked to seen, again, this is because I really like Batman and the conflict within him being Bruce Wayne and him being Batman. Like, he puts on a show on purpose, but he really is Batman. Like, that's who he is. But Bruce Wayne is sort of this acting, this facade that he puts out to everyone. And I kind of wanted to see that a little bit more in this movie, but it's okay. We didn't. We might get it later. It was still a great movie.
I would say if we get it later, it's better to get the variation where he's learning that he needs that. Mm-hmm. It's a better story. Like, if you're looking at it as it's an incomplete story right now, I think it would be better if we see that in a later movie. That's a better. We don't want to see the same thing repeated over and over. So to give us a different take and to see him grow into that will be awesome, as long as we get that. Also, positive, no ridiculous voice changer, synthesizer, or whatever, and it wasn't needed. And at no point was I thinking, man, why doesn't he disguise his voice? No, there was no need for that. He's speaking in low, gravelly tones anyways. Why would you need to sound ridiculous doing that? You don't have to sound ridiculous doing that. So that was nice.
No, I agree. Like, again, I just thought the Batman was perfect. Like, the way he was, the mysterious, like, people thought it was slow or maybe boring because no words were being spoken, but that's like Batman. He's like assessing every little detail as the detective.
We were I saw we had the reclining seats. So you were sitting up. I was like leaning forward. I was like, what's he gonna say? Like, the suspense to it was really cool. It's not something you get in that. It felt like, it felt like the old animated version of him, when not like when it's, the more cartoon stuff, but it was just when here's a group of people, he's going to say like 3 words, and then he's going to leave. And then the people that are there are like, well, thanks. That's helpful, or whatever. Like, right. Oh wait, did I miss that? And then, Yeah,
It's good.
you know how we talk about how the movie it has to have the right feel
Mm-hmm.
for it, kind of like how I'm going to compare this to other superhero movies now, but kind of like how Star Wars Episode 7 was not right in a lot of things as far as the nitpicky stuff you could put apart with it, but it felt like Star Wars, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was good because it felt like you're watching Star Wars. So this at no point in time felt anything like other Batman movies,
Mm-hmm.
but man, it felt like this is who Batman is.
Yeah.
This really feels like they got Batman. Like this is who, unlike the versions that we've seen before, not even anything like them. This feels like what Batman's supposed to feel like. This is great. Like
Yeah.
this is the tone here is perfect. Like that was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. 100% agree. Really quick shout out. I think we might have mentioned him, but I'm just going to give it the guy who played Commissioner Gordon. He was really good in this movie as well. I don't know if we mentioned that, but like you said, acting across the board, I didn't think anybody was bad. They were all great actors. The Penguin, the Riddler, Gordon, Batman, Catwoman, all of them. So, quick, before we sign off, do you have a quick rating for the movie?
I mean, that is a tough one to put like a number score on. I mean, I'd give it a minimum a 9 out of 10. I would say
Yeah.
it's like probably a 9. I don't know,
Mhm.
9 point. If we're gonna decimal point it, a 9.2. I don't know. It was really really good. It was like no other Batman story I've seen in live action,
Yeah.
which to me automatically you did a good job with it, and I haven't seen it before. That's great. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm with you. I have it as at a 9.0, but yeah, I'm with you. It's so good. So if you haven't seen it yet, well, you shouldn't be watching this. You should go see it before you watch this, but now it's too late.
Correct.
So, but
Correct. You should not listen to this if you
yeah, this late into the podcast. If you haven't listened to seen the movie yet, don't listen to the podcast. But anyway, that's it. Real quick, any storylines you hope they go with moving forward for the Batman?
As always, I
Or a
really don't
villain.
care. Yeah, as always, I really don't care what they do as long as it's done well.
Mhm.
I will see, even if I've already seen these characters in other versions, I just want to see them do it well. I would rather see it be based off of Batman and not other Bat family people. I don't find it to be realistic to bring like a Robin or a Batgirl or anything like that into like a real
Sure.
live action setting. It works really well for cartoons and video games and stuff. I don't
Sure.
think it works for a movie like that. So I don't want that personally. I'd rather that be a completely different thing. Like he knows who Batman is, but he's in his own city or something. I'd rather be something like that.
Like well, that would be like Nightwing, right? Because that's
I'd like to see a Nightwing movie where Batman pops in for like 5 minutes and leaves. So like that, like I think that'd be sweet. But I don't want to see like the two of, I don't know.
Right, I got you.
So for future, no, I just want it to be good. I had seen something online about the director of this movie said he had a Mr. Freeze idea. That would be great. If you do Mr. Freeze and it's really good, awesome. If it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger and lame, then no, I don't want to see that. But I mean, I do want to see I do want to see it be awesome. So I hope it's good.
That's I hope you're right. They like a Mr. Freeze would be cool because we haven't seen a live action version of him in a while. Deathstroke would be pretty awesome. But my number one, and I told you this last night, they already brought in the Joker. Do the storyline to the Mask of the Phantasm. Yeah. That is a good detective story. You could make it as gritty as this, like, sort of a more dark, gritty atmosphere like this, but you're going to have another serial killer, but he or she is going to be whacking off mob bosses, and to watch Bruce Wayne in the same way figure that out and why she's killing these people because of Joker mainly would be pretty awesome. I would love to see that, a live action version of that.
That would be great. I think if I mean, it's not going to happen obviously, but you know how they keep churning out Fast and the Furious movies? They just keep making them.
Yeah.
If they made like 10 Batman detective movies, I would go see every single one of those. I mean, if it was just a different case that Batman is trying to solve with different villains and stuff, I mean, the structure of this is so much different than the other types of movies that you could watch these you could repeatedly, where it's different. It's a different crime story. I mean, people love it. Everyone likes a good crime. I shouldn't say everyone, but everyone who's into that type of thing. If you're into like the crime concept where you're trying to solve something, if that's your thing, why wouldn't you want to see a whole bunch of these movies? They should just keep making them. I think it's great. That's what I hope happens. It's not going to happen, but I would hope that happens. That's sweet. That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
I'm with you. I thought of Psych right away when you said that. I was like a Psych, but much more dark and gritty. But yes, and not as much humor. No, okay, man. Anything else?
No, it was good. I liked it. Robert Pattinson did a really good job.
Yes, for sure. Okay, man. Well, thanks so much for joining me tonight, this afternoon, I should say. Thanks everybody for listening. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and go ahead and listen to our audio version of the podcast if you'd like, or you can listen to some other stuff. Right now, me and a couple friends, we are going to be ranking the Phase 4 project of Marvel from 9 to 1. So look out for that podcast. If you go to the podcast feed, it will drop soon. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Get better, Paul George.